I just have one thing to say. Hang on here.
Ain't nothing changed, nothing new here to see. This ain't nothing but some political maneuvering.
America.
Welcome to the eulogy, eat it up. It's called political buffoonery.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to another episode of This Week in DUMBmocracy. It's a show where we showcase the political buffoonery of our time, and oh my goodness, do we have a doozy of a story for you today. Unfortunately, there's no video for it. You know how I like to use video to explain the point, show buffoons in the wild, as it were, but we don't have it this time. So we're just going to have to read the story and analyze it through the lens of my book, Schnooks, Crooks, Liars, and Scoundrels, a field guide to identifying political buffoons, available now on Amazon, at Barnes & Noble, and other online bookstores. Before we get to the story, of course, I would love it if you guys would subscribe to the channel. I hope I earn your subscription today. Also, please like, comment, share the show with your friends. Let's get into, you see the headline. I mean, this is going to get wild, apparently. So this is from page 6, the gossip column of the New York Post. Robert F. Kennedy Jr. press dinner explodes in war of words and farting. Okay, then. There's a reason why they call it the silly season, folks, when they talk about political campaigns, and I guess this is where we live now. In case you've been living under a rock, RFK Jr. is running to primary President Joe Biden for the Democratic nomination. He's currently running second at about 15%. Has raised quite a bit of money recently. I think it came in at about $6 million or something like that for the last quarter. It's nothing to sneeze at. It's definitely, something that he can spend and maybe put up somewhat of a challenge. He's been getting a lot of the, what I like to call the right-wing treatment from the press. A lot of smearing, a lot of incredulous coverage, a lot of it negative, of course. But he does have the Kennedy name, which used to mean something in Democratic politics. But if anything, his campaign is going to add some entertainment to our lives right now. So this is a story from Maris Siegler from page 6, which, like I said, is a gossip column. Let's get into the story now. Camelot it ain't. Page 6 regrets to report that a press dinner to boost Robert F. Kennedy Jr.'s presidential campaign devolved into a foul bout of screaming and polemic farting Tuesday night. What exactly is polemic farting? I may have to look that one up later. Insert graphic here. The White House hopeful attended the affair at Tony's on the Upper East Side, no doubt hoping to impress on the ladies and gentlemen of the Fourth Estate, the press, of the worthiness of his campaign and the worthiness to sit at the very same Oval Office desk once occupied by his late uncle. But a shouting match over climate change broke out between two boisterous old men. Okay, let's get into this. The gaseous exchange, to which page 6 bore reluctant witness, began after a guest asked Kennedy, the founder of the Waterkeeper Alliance, about the environment. And it seemed that the inquiry was enough to set off apparently drunk gossip columnist turned flack Doug Detchert, the host of the event. So this guy was the guy doing the hosting, to become enraged and scream at the top of his lungs, "The climate hoax!" So you see where we're going. I assume this is Detchert right here. Let's see if we can get a better shot of him here. Come on, page 6, cooperate with me. All right, so there he is. Who's that a photo of him with? Doesn't say who, but that's him. Meanwhile, octogenarian art critic Anthony Haden-Guest, who, by the way, I've actually met once, was a very charming gentleman when I met him a couple of years back, kept hitting on the young lady that was with me, so he was a frisky little fellow, who appeared to have been sleeping happily for most of the dinner, was roused by the abrupt rumpus. Haden-Guest opened his eyes and denounced Detchert, calling him a miserable blob.
You shut up!
Said Haden-Guest. Oh, wow. This is fun. Detchert continued to scream wildly about climate change and it's a scam, while Haden-Guest peppered him with verbal volleys from across the room, calling him effing insane and insignificant.
You're a fucking idiot. This needs to stop. Now.
All while RFK Jr. They apparently just sat there. That's Anthony Haden-Guest, by the way. Again, art critic, very much an avant-garde figure. I think he was around during the Studio 54 days. He's that type of character. Uh, Here, it seems Detchert sensed the need for a new rhetorical tact and let rip a loud, prolonged fart while yelling, as if to underscore his point, "I'm farting." You know, as political responses go, probably not the worst thing I've ever heard. Oh, lordy. The room, which included a handful of journalists, I guess included the New York Post, as well as RFJ Jr.'s campaign manager, former Congressman Dennis Kucinich. I didn't know that. Was stunned. Yeah, you think? Seemingly unsure about whether Detchert was farting at Haden-Guest personally or at the very notion of global warming. Oh boy, very rarely does a headline of this magnitude underscore a story, like undersell it. This had to be wild. The candidate maintained a steady composure in the face of the farting and I guess the crisis that they want to call it. Folks, wow. Like what you see so far? Go ahead and smash that thumbs up button. Also, leave us a comment and tell us what you're thinking. And don't forget to subscribe so you never miss another show. This is the type of buffoon that I discuss in my book that I like to call the lunatic, Buffoonicus extremis. There are two parts to what makes someone this sort of lunatic buffoon. There's a triggering event, and then there's the emotional hijack. In this case, for Detchert, the triggering event was the mention of the environment, which for some reason triggered him to start screaming out climate change. The triggering event for Haden-Guest was the screaming of Detchert, and the emotional hijack was the fart, I guess, and the verbal tirade back and forth. This is a freaking sideshow. Listen, it makes my life easier when you make a show about political buffoonery and you have a political dinner that breaks out into cursing and farting. That's kind of in my wheelhouse, right? So thank you very much for this, gentlemen. I really appreciate it. Uh, it seems like everything kind of went smoothly from there, but there may have been some other stuff going on, some other screaming back and forth between these two. Apparently, Detchert ended up apologizing later on. That's probably the face that RFK Jr. had the whole time right there. Probably sitting there. Detchert and Haden-Guest had known each other for 3 decades. When asked for comment about his outburst, Detchert said, "I apologize for using my flatulence as a medium of public commentary in your presence." He also asked to refer to him either as gallivanting boulevardier or a beer-fueled sex rocket. Are you kidding me? And she does it in the next paragraph. The beer-fueled sex rocket who picked up the tab for the evening was unapologetic about his views, telling us that he has zero tolerance for the climate hoax scam nonsense in any venue that I am personally funding. Good God. Listen, I mean, everyone has their views on climate change. You know, I'm sure you have yours. I certainly have mine. I have a relative in my family that is a meteorologist. And by the way, happy late birthday, happy belated birthday to Jeff Berardelli. But honestly, this is lunacy. Is there more? Oh, look, more photos of the beer-fueled sex rocket and the gallivanting boulevardier. Oh my goodness. He has a colorful history of sparring, sometimes rather literally with the press, and more specifically with Page Six. Uh, Britt Haden-Guest, who had written for Rolling Stone and other books about Studio 54, there it is, in the Night Culture, tells us, "I've known Doug many years. We've had spats before about this and that. We are not quite the same politically, you think? But that doesn't affect relationships in the UK. So I should have mentioned he is British. I guess they both are. But I thought this was pretty ridiculous. Understatement of the year, Mr. Haden-Guest. He says fighting in public is very unusual for him, but when it is preposterous and it's a life or death issue with the planet, to treat it as a zany political thing is foolish. So there you see, it is a bit of a political issue going back and forth, or at least Haden-Guest is trying to make it about climate change now. When clearly everyone says that he was sleeping in the story and that this woke him up. So was he sleeping? Was he just resting his eyes? I don't know. They went back and forth. I am done with you. Look at this. But the next day, they seem to have dissipated, and I guess they're friends again. Folks, this is complete lunacy from lunatics in politics. These are the kind of people that drive me batty in politics. This isn't serious stuff. You know, as much as we all want politics to be about facing issues up front with real solutions and coming together and compromise to bring about benefits for society, this is politics that I'm more accustomed to, and this is more that retail politics when you have to deal with people of all sorts, especially when they're well-heeled donors who can throw parties for you, and apparently they get triggered by the phrase climate change. My God. I'm just going to go back up to the headline real quick. I know we've been breezing through it a lot, but isn't that a thing of beauty? We have our first farting incident of a 2024 election cycle. I'm glad you went along this ride with me, guys. Check out my book, Schnooks, Crooks, Liars, and Scoundrels, a field guide to identifying political buffoons, to discuss more about other types of buffoons as available on Amazon and at Barnes & Noble and other online bookstores. Thanks for checking out the show. Please subscribe to the channel. We are so close to 1,000 subscribers. For all I know, by the time this video comes out, we might actually be there. In any case, thank you everybody for liking the video, sharing it with your friends. Comment down below on the absolute zaniness of it. And man, if you're our RFK and you want to be taken seriously as a candidate and you're already getting bad press treatment, stuff like this is just going to make you the laughingstock of the election cycle. Whew, my goodness. Guys, thanks for checking out the show. We're probably going to take Friday off, which will be the next day after the taping of this video, the release of the video. So just wanted to say again, thank you everybody for tuning in. Please like, share, subscribe, all that good stuff. And we'll see you next time where we'll be having even more shenanigans. I can't say that they're going to top this, but it's going to be even more shenanigans this week in DUMBmocracy. And boy, was that one dumb.
All views and opinions expressed here are not necessarily of the mainstream media and may offend some listeners. It's called political buffoonery.